I'm here to give you a sneak preview of preparations towards the hosting of the 68th Independence Anniversary celebrations at the Presidency. And as you can all see behind me, feverish preparations are ongoing. As you may be aware already, usually these celebrations are held on a grand scale at the Black Star Square or Independence Square, as most people know it. In the last few years, there was a policy of rotation among various regional capitals. But these celebrations came with significant costs, which at the moment the national purse cannot bear. So President Mahama took a decision a few weeks ago to scale down the celebrations and bring it to the Presidency. As you can see, there's a vast compound that has capacity to accommodate hundreds of Ghanaians. In the past, there were 60 contingents made up of 60 men and women each. So you are talking close to 3,600 men and women and thousands of children who march. Now, everything has been scaled down to a little over 500 people. That is both security men and women and school children who will be performing. And this is to ensure that we do not incur the sort of costs that we incurred in the past. I can reveal to you that the celebrations that will be held here tomorrow will cost a tenth of what it cost to hold or host this event in Koforidua last year. And it cost 15 million Ghana cedis to hold the Koforidua event. What will be held here tomorrow will cost a tenth of that. The scaled down event does not in any way undermine the significance of the day. The Independence Day celebration is one that President Mahama takes very seriously. He believes that it must be celebrated, except that he thinks that it should be done in modesty and in a way that allows us to make savings that we can plow back into other areas of expenditure. I would urge all that if you do not have an invitation, please do not come, because security officials will have the unfortunate task of having to turn you away. But if you have an invitation, please show up. You can follow tomorrow's event through the magic of television and radio. It will also be streamed live on the social media handles of the Presidency, on President Mahama's own Facebook and X pages. It will also be on the Information Service Department Facebook and X and Instagram pages. So you can follow everything that happens here. Up to the minute updates will be given to you, so that you do not really miss much. In the comfort of your homes, you can be part of this important celebration, which seeks to foster national unity and chart a new path towards national development. I'm here to give you a sneak preview of preparations towards the hosting of the 68th Independence Anniversary celebrations.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Last question. And I admire your loyalty to your country as well. Can you share with me the words in the national pledge?
Thereby I recite it. I promise on my honor to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, my motherland. But Ghana is actually my fatherland. I pledge myself to the service of Ghana with all my strength and with all my heart. I promise to uphold in high esteem a heritage won for us through the blood and toil of our fathers. And I pledge myself in all things to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana. So help me God.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Do you think you can represent all of Africa?
Me represent Africa is too big for me. I'm only trying to throw out ideas. And so it's only the ideas and principles which I believe in, which I think will be the ultimate. Help the continent is what I'm trying to put forward. And if the ideas and principles which I put forward is taken by the great majority of the people, then I think I've done my duty.
Dr. Nkrumah, have you come to this conference to listen and to watch, or to raise points of your own?
I think I've come to listen.
Are there any points arising out of Ghana's first few months of independence which you will bring up? Any problems?
Yes, there are one or two problems, but there are points which I don't know whether they have to be raised at the conference or outside it.
Do you think that Ghana should serve as a model for other Commonwealth countries which desire independence?
Yes, particularly You should set the example, to the other dependent territories which are at the moment trying to achieve their independence.
I believe your head is to be put on the new currency in Ghana instead of the Queen. What is the reason for that?
Oh, it's not a matter which I'm interested. I think it's a matter which concerns the party.
Now, this has never happened before in the Commonwealth. The party leader has never had his head on the currency. Do you think it's a good thing?
It depends upon the circumstances surrounding the case.
Don't you think you might spend a lot of money printing the currency, and then if you lost an election, the opposition would have to withdraw it from circulation?
Remember that the people always decide these matters. If the people wish it, no other party can go against it, otherwise it will be your own downfall.
Thank you very much.
I am telling us, as I remember the Osagie for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, that now, as you turn in your grave, if you had been alive, you'd possibly be 107 years today. But your people, some of the remains were interred. Your spirit is alive and well, alive and well. And it's that spirit that occupies our minds and hearts today as we remind ourselves that the only way in which Africa will realize our potential is through the path of unity. I know as you lie in your grave, great Osagyefo, there is a sense in which, in a manner so completely invisible to us, you are turning uncomfortably and weeping uncontrollably, because your continent is bleeding. It is bleeding in every corner. In our heart, in the Congo, she bleeds. That country that is so rich is yet the poorest nation in Africa. But it does not stop bleeding only in the Congo. It also bleeds in our Horn in Somalia. That country, which could be very rich, is only famous for the wrong things. Men killing men for no reason. But it doesn't stop bleeding there. It is also bleeding in our armpit, in Equatorial Guinea, that country that God gave so much oil. That oil was long captured by one family, and they are using it for their benefit to the detriment of their people. And it doesn't stop bleeding there. In Central African Republic and in Libya and in Mauritania and in Mali, your continent is torn asunder. And we who have gathered here today are asking ourselves the fundamental question: what must we do to save Africa? And that is why today, when we are looking at Africa and when we are remembering you on that 24th day of May in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, we cannot help but remember how animated you are. We cannot help but remember that what you saw 50 years ago is turning out to be as evergreen as when you spoke them.
The greatest opportunities in the history of mankind. Now, would you agree with that?
I do, because this is an opportunity for the African to demonstrate to the world that the African, given the chance, can manage his own affairs.
And can you live up to this chance, do you think?
I think we are prepared to live up to this opportunity. We have had 5 years of what we call internal self-government. And now we are going into a period of complete independence and sovereignty. And with the experience we have had, I'm quite sure that we shall be able to live up to this opportunity.
Ultimately, the strength of a nation lies in its people, and Ghana is strong. This is the village of Apapam, enclosed by hills. The next village is 8 miles away as the crow flies, but more than 100 by the existing road. And so the people of Apapam are building themselves a road, each man of the village giving 1 day's voluntary work each week. It may not sound much, perhaps, a road of just 8 miles, but come along the 2 miles they've already built. See the men of Apapam hack their way through the mountain and virgin forest, and judge then the strength of Ghana.
At long last, the battle has ended. And thus, Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. And here again, I want to take the opportunity to thank the chiefs and people of this country, the youth, the farmers, the women, who have so nobly fought and won this battle. Also, I want to thank the valiant ex-servicemen who have so cooperated with me in this mighty task of freeing our country from foreign rule and imperialism. And as I pointed out at our party conference at Sorbonne, I made it quite clear that from now on today, we are waking, we shall no more go back to sleep anymore. Today, from now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. We are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, young as we are, that we are prepared to lay our own foundation. As I said in the assembly just minutes ago, I made a point that we are going to see that we create our own African personality and identity. It's the only way in which we can show the world that we are ready for our own battle.
Government is broke, government is broke. But people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are 2 types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Morning Ghana on Metro TV. Good morning. Today's Thursday, the 6th of March. And by the mention of 6th of March, you do know today is a very, very important day in the history of Ghana. Today we're marking our 68th independence anniversary as a country. So it's going to be a very special program that we have for you today. But first of all, let's thank God for keeping us alive. We're still healthy, hale and hearty to bring you another edition of the show and to bring you what we believe are the big stories that are making the rounds in this country called Ghana. So as we always do, I'll go straight ahead and look at the stories that the big stories, or headlines of some of the big stories that are making the rounds in the country. Independence Day budget cut by 90%. Kwachi Ofosu. Unknown gunmen allegedly invade Ameu's house in Hohoi. 52 students honored at 32nd President's Independence Day Awards. Bank of Ghana headquarters, $230 million paid to contractor, 31 like biscuits, Ablakwa. So these are some of the big stories that are making the rounds as far as the newspapers are concerned. My name is Audumoro. Thanks once again for tuning into Good Morning Ghana. Please stay with us. When I come back, I'll be introducing my resource persons, one of whom has actually joined us, and then the conversation will start.
Comrades and friends, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to Accra and to this conference of African freedom fighters and supporters of the growing movement for Africa's liberation and unity. Africa is rich and not poor. Africa has immense actual and potential wealth: gold, diamond, copper, manganese, bauxite, iron ore, uranium, asbestos, chrome, cobalt, a host of other minerals. Our essential agricultural produce have all been drained away by colonialist imperialism. Africa is far from being poor. It is Africans who are poor, not Africa. And they are poor because of the uncounted profit that has been made out of the exploitation of their labor and their lands. I raise this point so that it will stay in your minds when you may be tempted by the seductive promises of new colonialism to forget the real character of colonialist imperialism and be persuaded away from your own true interests and those of Africa. For today, we must each see ourselves as part of Africa in order that we may face colonialist imperialism and its new form, new colonialism, on a continent-wide front. First, the attainment of freedom and independence. Secondly, the consolidation of that freedom and independence. Thirdly, the creation of unity and community between the free African states. Fourth, the economic and social reconstruction of Africa.
Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath.
I'm a fat missy way.
The patch of Bantama.
Matias.
It's her smile.
The fresh breath.
Me, Jidi said we use Kel 360 toothpaste. Some kind.
Kel 360 toothpaste.
That's Kia. Kel 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector.
Onim jom kasan. Ile hosing. Kel 360 did the way. It's cool mint. Gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
And you will see so feeling ye. Kel 360 toothpaste.
Happy smile. Kel 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath. Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story.
But he needs not stay down for long.
Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
Fire pomudi ni agubi Ghana fueni aje efri say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice
me de go me jollof mu ne me still ahodoma e ma ne dance
darling the barbecue they go on
sankofa natural spices and one you use 100% natural.
Adofo, mamunye huge mistake. Sankofa natural spices. FDA.
Look around.
Home also need a makeover.
Mine clearly does. So we went to Ashroom and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Merchant furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
Where's Como collection? Dressing up is just the breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
a table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashphone store now and discover the new Como collection. Ashphone, feel it, know it. Blue Jeans Energy Drink.
Ama, nansi mi jeno wo bin enko ye kwao. Ama ma ye bohu se kontomra akija.
Nansi me hu se me nyo basima kra. Ama me kunu ne me into kwankwa. Oyiwa. Enye mo ko. Give us GC mixture and any capsules. You num boom and want some na more kana. A bois and ma any meme nyina. Ne ma wo ba ye obesima. Na be ma so ye be masima. Ya, we be bois wo kru. Ama ne giant sa wo de hye ne botum. Na wanyinya ne nim tisese ne oyi chokmo. GC mixture and a capsule.
A painful battle, one more menu for one and Quada when if you do me a look at
Hello, my friends. My name is Calkit Toothpaste.
Wow.
I was made to be gentle on your gum, but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger. Chicky chicky whiter. Chicky chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
And Resource Municipal Solid Waste. Resource Municipal Solid Waste. And these are the perfect choice for sustainable farming. Join the organic revolution today. Boost your crop yield, improve soil health, and support sustainable farming practices. Choose ACAP, KCAP, and IRICOP organic compost for a greener and bountiful harvest. For your purchase and more information, call the numbers on your screen. Our products are endorsed by Cocoa Board, Planting for Food and Jobs, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Activists that I know in this house, who today they are in the majority, are telling the country that rules of procedure do not matter. That is what we are hearing from respected lawyers whose names I don't want to mention. I don't want to mention their names. Because you are in government, your law has vanished into thin air. Mr. Speaker, let us, in the interest of the country, stand this matter down. I'm ready to engage. Let's have this matter placed on ice for some minutes. For some minutes, Mr. Speaker, let us at leadership level, without prejudice to his argument he would want to make, to engage and to have discussion on the path. Else, Mr. Speaker, this may get out of hand and we may be setting a precedent. Listen, honorable members, Mr. Speaker, let me end by saying that any form of accountability that is necessary for the good of the country must be pursued. I am never against any accountability, but you all know that there is this old saying that should all men find a man's hand in a till, his guilt must be proven.
Mr. Speaker, as you indicated, it is in the order paper that the governor has been scheduled to come and answer questions relating to the cost of the new Bank of Ghana head office. Mr. Speaker, the communication was given to this House as far back as Friday last week, when we were presenting the program for this week. And it was part of the program that was adopted by this House. Mr. Speaker, it was discussed at business committee meeting. He was absent. I can understand he was absent, but it was discussed at business committee meeting. Mr. Speaker, a letter was written to the governor by the responsible clerk, Equia Osei Somwa, Principal Assistant Clerk. She wrote to the governor and invited the governor to brief the House. Mr. Speaker, we know the practice of this House relating to matters that we deal with at the Committee of the Whole meetings. We've been receiving constitutional bodies here. This is not the first time.
and this showed that the existing head office, which was built in the late 1950s, had developed significant structural defects and was no longer fit for purpose. Mr. Speaker, we have provided a copy of this document also on the structural integrity audit that was conducted in 2019. Following this, Mr. Speaker, the Board of Directors at that time approved the development of a new corporate headquarters, citing security, operational efficiency, and long-term institutional needs as key factors. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, the land was acquired at West Ridge, and I am informed that a competitive procurement process that was approved by the Public Procurement Authority led to the selection of Mr. Goldkey Properties Limited as the contractor under a turnkey arrangement. Mr. Speaker, the project was initially valued by the PPA at $81.8 million, but later increased to $121.1 million after the Bank of Ghana requested for re-evaluation. This was revised again to $222.8 million, and I'm just rounding off, Mr. Speaker, after the redesign and inclusion of building management systems. Mr. Speaker, there were also statutory requirements, security needs, and sustainability considerations. As a result, the total project cost increased to $261.8 million. Mr. Speaker, as of February this year, a total of $230 million approximately has been paid towards the project.
You're still live on Metro Television. This is Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. My name is Audu Moro. Today's show, as you do know, is a special one. And indeed it is so because today Ghana celebrates its 68th independence anniversary on the theme Reflect, Review, and Reset. Now, you do know that a day like this invites us as a people, of course, initiated by the media, to pause and reflect and look at how the journey has been so far, where we're heading or where we're headed as a country, what we need to do to be able to get to the destination as being, envisioned by our forebears. And so this morning's show is going to be a very special one. It's not going to be newspaper driven as we've always seen. We're just going to talk about Ghana, and Ghana. The theme is a very interesting one, which is reflect, review, and reset. And so then it raises the fundamental question whether we're merely resetting what has already been set, or we have entirely lost our way as a country. So for us, that's the fundamental question that we want to be able to answer today. And of course, beyond the ceremony, albeit modest this time round, we've heard the government talk about how, because of the times in which we're in, the economy is in a bad shape. And so government intends to do a very, very modest celebration today. But beyond the celebration and the nice speeches and so on, the parades and so on, we want to be able to also ask whether, indeed, after nearly 7 decades of self-rule, whether we are where we are as a country, as I did indicate. Let me also tell you that I've got some good news for you. The good news is that you can now monitor, or you can follow the show on radio, 94.1 FM. So you can please tell a friend to tell a friend that just in case they can't watch us on TV this morning and they're driving, or they're probably even home, but they want to monitor us on radio, please tell them or inform them to tune into 94.1 That's it, just 94.1. That's the frequency. And you will be able to follow this program to the very end. So today we're celebrating activities that will mark a day. In fact, it's a day that reminds all of us of our journey from 1957 when we liberated ourselves from the shackles of colonial rule. But like I said, more importantly, what did we do with that independence that we gained from our colonial masters? That I'm talking about the British. My name once again is Audu Moro, and joining us this morning for what promises to be a very interesting conversation is Yves Hansen-Northe. He's a former MP for Tema Central. Yes, Yves Hansen-Northe is a former MP for Tema Central. He's here with us this morning. I'll also be joined shortly by Ambassador Sampiyale. Ambassador Sampiyale is the president of the NDC Professional Forum. He'll be joining us shortly. But let me say a very good morning to Yves Hansen-Northe. He's already seated. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
On
Moro.
Good Morning, Ghana.
Good morning.
First time you and I are having what we call a physical interaction.
Sure.
You know,
I mean, there's always a first time for everything.
Yeah, there's always a first time. That's
Yes.
true. That's
There's
true.
a first time for everything.
That's true. But I hope you're doing well.
Well, I'm doing well by God's grace.
How is life in your case, you are in what I call opposition square.
Out of Parliament.
Out of Parliament, out of government. How's life treated you so far?
Life is fine. It's given us time to reflect. It's given us time to also spend with our families. Sometimes politics takes you away from your home.
Okay. So you mean you have started a reflection a long time ago?
Oh, yes.
You didn't have to wait for Independence Day?
No. Because, I mean...
It's about your personal life?
Yes.
Right.
So I think it's given me the opportunity to spend more time with my children and my wife, which I think is good. I'm getting to know them better than even what I thought I knew.
Yeah.
You know, and I think at this critical stage in their lives, I have to be there because obviously we'll continue with the politics, we'll continue with the public service. And there are a few things that we're trying to put back together, our business, a few other things. So it's not been a roller coaster ride because you prepare towards that as well. And luckily for me, I mean, I lost the primary somewhere in January last year. So I had a whole year to prepare for this. But I didn't prepare for Bawumia's defeat because I believed that Bawumia would cross the line, and I believe in his ability to deliver. And I supported him wholeheartedly, believing that we can deliver on the ground. However, it didn't turn out to be so. So we are still strategizing, preparing for election 2028 to go through the processes as a party, bring out our candidate, most probably Dr. Bawumia, and then go to the people of Ghana and sell our message to them and let them know that the MPP has what it takes to make Ghana a better place. We may not have been able to deliver on all our promises in the past, but we are going to learn from that. We're going to learn from our mistakes. We're going to learn from where we fell short and rebuild to recapture power in 2028. I believe that we have what it takes to recapture power, and Ghanaians will get the opportunity to compare us to what our current government is doing, and then we'll take a decision in 2028 in our favor. I believe so.
You started reflecting the very day you lost your primaries.
Yes, I mean,
and there's a certain sense that usually when you people lose your primaries, typically what happens is that you check out. And so your contribution in Parliament usually is subpar. You're not as committed as you would be if you had won your primaries.
In fact, for me, when I lost the primaries, I spent more time in Parliament because one of the reasons why I also lost the primaries was because I was spending a lot of time in Parliament. The parliamentary craft is something you must learn. You must put yourself out there to learn, and it takes a while. So if you really want to do the job well, you have to compensate it with your constituency. It is a very difficult balancing act. And in fact, when you go for the first orientation, that is what those who have been there for a long time tell you. I remember the current speaker, Abangwa, been telling us that the more time you spend in the chamber, the more difficult it gets for you in your constituency. So learning to balance that act
hasn't been that easy.
It's not easy. And also because our people want instant gratification. They don't understand why they have to wait for things to just germinate or grow or gestate before they benefit out of it. So therefore, if we send you to Parliament, all their personal issues becomes the issues of the MP. The MP's core functions are completely different. The core functions of the MP is to legislate, to create laws, spend time to understand the material and even read the material so that you can be able to deliver on them. You spend all the time politicking and therefore do not make the time to even participate meaningfully in Parliament. So it's a very difficult balancing act. However, I tried my very best. So I didn't pull back. I rather worked harder. So I was given a few more committees to add to what I had already. I was on about 3 committees. And then I did my best for the people of Ghana and for Parliament as a whole. I mean, I'm sure my leadership, leadership will attest to it. Oh, I didn't find.
Right.
That's my son.
Yes.
That's my uncle.
He mentioned it before you came and said he was happy that he was going to be here with his uncle. So the man whose voice you're hearing in the background is Ambassador Sampi, who's joined us. He's the president of the NDC's Professional Forum, and so he's just taking his seat. I would welcome him shortly. But anyway, I think that he's good to go now. Good morning, sir. Thank you so very much, His Excellency, for joining us. It's always a pleasure having you.
Yeah, sure.
And happy Independence anniversary.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So, you're talking to me about...
so I really put in a lot of effort. Okay. I mean, I continued with all the things that I was supposed to do, especially for my committee. I served as vice chairman of the Environment Committee. And in that capacity, there's a lot that needs to be done. COP29, environmental issues in Ghana. We did the EPA bill. So I spent a lot of time on that as well. And yes, we were able to get it through so that today we have a climate change act as part of our laws in Ghana so that it allows us to access certain kinds of funding that we need and all that. So for me, I love the parliamentary craft and I put in the effort to make sure that I delivered on my responsibilities.
Okay.
Beyond that, obviously, the constituency as well went to help to prepare for the general elections, and whatever it is what it is.
Have you also been reflecting on what may have possibly led to such a terrible performance in the last elections by the NPP?
Oh, I mean, it is obvious it was a function of bad governance. So it was glaring. Yes, there was economic difficulties. How did we manage those difficulties? Did we manage them in the interest of the people? Did the people see that as being beneficial to them? So in a nutshell, I don't think I'm the only person who holds that view. If you take my constituency, for example, we had road issues. It was one of the biggest things that the people of Ghana were asking for, much more than many other things. I lived in my constituency with a road minister for 8 years. And my people were expecting that, once we live with a road minister, we should be able to fix our roads. Because a chunk of our votes come from a certain section of our community. The roads were never done. We had promises upon promises. I don't even blame the road minister. And that is why some of us went after the finance minister at that time. Because there were very basic things that we believe that should be done for the people. I can give you another example. Maybe take roads out. Premix, for example. About 2 years. I mean, premix volumes were like 10% of the previous year. 2023, 2022, 2024. 2022 to 2024. It dipped. About 8 months period where we didn't supply any premix to the coastal regions. And I'm from the coast. I have family along the coast from Accra all the way to Newtown in Nzima.
Why?
Subvention. Because government is supposed to pay a certain, it's subsidized. So the subsidies.
Yes.
And the BDCs that were doing the blending were not having access to the subsidy and were not being paid.
Oh, okay.
So they also
So it was a cash flow problem?
Yes. So it was a finance problem. It had nothing to do with the availability of the products. So some of the companies were literally dying under the weight of these debts that are not being paid to them. And so you could just tell. So along the coast, it showed in our elections. We lost all the coast, from Volta to Western region. everything. Why? Because of premix. So if it's a government, it was a governance issue. So if I go to my village in Nzema and I go and tell my uncles to go and vote, or I go to our place in Ahanta and I said, like, the first thing they will ask me is, Anna, how do you go and vote for this government? Where is the premix? For 8 months, they've not had premix. And that's their livelihood. So whilst you are doing things for the cocoa sector, you should be also looking at those ones. So it was a myriad of problems, but in a nutshell, I sincerely put it squarely at...
You are attributing it to poor governance?
Yes.
Now, and that's my final question to you before we move on, because like I said, predominantly today, we want to focus on our independence as a people and the anniversary that we're celebrating, 68 years, because we want to, as I said, answer the question whether we're happy with where we are. If we're not happy with where we are, where did we go wrong and how do we make it better? Now, already in your party, the blame game appears to be getting worse. And one would have thought that, since December 7 till now, it's been 3 months. So it would die down and, the party would then think about how to reorganize and to basically put the past behind them and forge some kind of unity ahead and look at what to do going forward. But what we're beginning to see, or what we're not beginning to see, but what we're continuing to see is a situation where the blame game continues. And already, one of the issues that have come up has to do with the inquiry or an inquisition as to exactly what may have caused your defeat, of course, scientifically. So you have the National doing its research work, or National has sanctioned a commission to do that, and then you have that of the region as well. And I've heard the former General Secretary of the party who's gone berserk about why, for instance, the regional, the research was conducted by the Ashanti region is actually leaked or has been leaked to the media and everybody's talking about it. And why must you even have a parallel research being conducted by the party? For him, it signifies some kind of indiscipline. It's a reflection of some kind of indiscipline, which has caused the party, and the party hasn't learned its lessons yet. What's your take on that? The blame game and all this research that's been conducted.
So, the blame game would only end when we have...
I don't know how to send it to her.
Okay.
The blame game will only end when we have a comprehensive report.
Okay.
And based on that comprehensive report, we'll be able to now move forward. That report is what we're working on through the Okui Committee.
Yes.
However, the Ashanti region went out on their own prior to the
commission of the
inquiry by the party.
Of the Okui Committee.
It is just like individuals deciding to find out the reasons why we lost. Even in our communities, in our constituencies. I went for the album. I looked at the voter pattern, the voter album, the ones that we ticked, and I compared, and I saw that there were people who naturally go out to vote for the MPP who didn't even move out of their homes. So you call one or two and find out what was the problem, what was the issue, and they give you their answers. So I see it from their own, it being their own initiative, because the loss was very heavy. It was very heavy. Some people are attributing it to spirituality, and all kinds of things. So the loss was so heavy, it was not, everybody was, even if we're going to lose, and we lost by 152 seats or something of that nature, or 500,000 votes, or 100,000 votes, and it was around 2, it's like a soft landing. But this one, there was no landing pad. we just hit the ground. So
you mean you crashed the land?
Yes, everybody. It was like the plane that toppled over in Canada. We were expecting to land softly, and then we flipped over. So it was a big shock. Everybody who loves the MPP did a deep introspection or wanted to find out why. If it means that they have to go to their pastors to pray and find out why, or do a scientific research, they were doing it. Everybody's doing it. And as we go along, we've been able to unearth a few similarities all over the place. So I don't think there was anything wrong with that. Maybe they preempted what the party was going to do and went ahead to do that. However, the issue of it being leaked and all that, it's become a problem in Ghana. Documents that are moving from the office of the president to the vice president's office even ends up on WhatsApp. And it is just wrong. You know, there's no privacy, nothing. And we see it all the time. They call it interception. I don't know how they intercept it, but it gets to a point, it's getting to a point where it's decaying the structures of the state. So therefore, we must look for solutions to those problems. However, I don't see anything wrong with the Ashanti region going out there to do what they did, especially led by somebody like Osei Saponsu. If it was something that he knew would not be in the interest of the party, I'm sure he would have never participated. He's not that kind of leader. I worked with him, I served under him, and I know his capacity and I know how he takes his integrity seriously. So he wouldn't have participated. But he was the chairman of the committee, and therefore I believe that it was done in good faith at the heat of the moment to find some basic information. You know, sometimes it's better to get the information when it's hot, and then you manage it. Because sometimes over time, people's ideas change, people's views change, people might even infuse different ideas to them, and they go and say, but when it's hot and they have actually done the thing, you can go to them and say, oh, Nebani, say, what happened? Why did you vote against that? You know, they spill out and even spill out more than you need. So I think that it wasn't a bad idea. I'm sure all other regions were doing something similar. Maybe they've not concluded on it or have not put it out there in the public for now. But everybody was doing so. I'm sure every regional chairman and constituency chairman of the MPP has done some form of analysis of this election, whether it's on a paperback or a scientific one. Everybody has done analysis of this election, and the pointers are the same. Bad governance, slow response to the people, slow response to national issues on Galamsey, water pollution. I mean, these were issues that we all affected by, and therefore the people of Ghana took a decision, and that is the decision that they've taken, and we respect the decision.
Ambassador Sampiali, as I did indicate, our main conversation today is about an independence anniversary, but we're just warming up. And so we brought up this issue about the NPP and how they fared in the elections, and he, unfortunately, was a casualty even at the primary level, so he could even contest to become an MP, potentially in Tema Central. But we're borrowing, or we're getting inspiration from the theme for the independence anniversary, which is reflect, review, and reset. Whilst he was talking about what may have gone wrong in the government, he says, look, he's attributing what has happened to the NPP government as poor governance. It's as simple as that. What useful lessons is the NDC learning from what has happened to the NPP?
Well, on the 68th anniversary of Ghana,
yes,
I never thought I was coming to discuss
the NPP.
Dysfunctional party like the NPP.
That's crude.
And you see, if you eat a bad food into your stomach rejects it. My nephew deviated when he went to the university to join a party like the NPP. I am going to make sure that he comes back home to the Nkrumah's party.
Well, that's a tall order.
And I know I'm going to do it because our grandfather or mother would have told him how, after the overthrow of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our people in Zimmerland were hounded, butchered, resulting about 2/3 of our people going to Ivory Coast.
That's very true.
So if you hear Fred Milway singing those Ghanaian songs, it is not because they are Ivorians. So I'm still wondering why my sister had allowed my nephew to join such a party that hounded our people. And you see how they vomited him? You see how they vomited him? I have not come here today to come and discuss NPP. Of course, he will remember that when we did the Kosibocho report, and we put in structures like the NDC Professionals Forum and others, they were mocking at us. Experience is always the best teacher. To date, have you read a page or a paragraph of the Kosibucho report?
Not yet.
Not.
So the ones that were leaked, you came out to say it was fake.
Fake, because they were trying very much to
You mean it was an MVP creation?
create a pseudo Kosibucho report. Sitting here. The only thing Kosibucho called me and said, look, Sam, this professionals forum thing that you have brought is the best that can happen to the party at Winneba when we're celebrating our 2nd anniversary. And let me salute people like Professor Nyineje, who was a former CEO of Konfanachi Hospital. People like Engineer Anamu, former GPHE, Director General. Let me celebrate people like Dr. Jewapia, the former Secretary General of the Ghana Medical Association, and James Osabute, the Grants Commander. You know him?
Right.
Grants Commander.
Yeah.
And many others. These are the gallant men that for the past 8 years, it was on the same 6th March that the Professional Forum was inaugurated.
True.
You remember?
True.
So today is our anniversary. So
Happy anniversary.
Yes. So we celebrate this anniversary with the gallant men and women and the names I've mentioned and many more who came together to form the NDC Professionals Forum. Mm-hmm. Today, I want to salute all young pioneers that are living and those who are dead. Some were chased away and they have never found their way back to Ghana. I want to salute them. I was a little boy when I was pushed into the Young Pioneer. Not because I was conscripted like they used to say, but I was attracted by the values of the Young Pioneer. Moro, if an organization teaches you first love of country, is it a communist organization?
It's just indoctrination.
Not at all.
Yes, they will say indoctrination, but I was indoctrinated to love Ghana. And that's why anytime I come here, I tell you about when the Ghana anthem is being played, I almost cry. Love of country. Because if you love your country, you will not steal from the country like they did. If you love your country, you will not pass a law to go and mine in our forest reserves. Another value was discipline and obedience. Discipline and obedience. We have lost the love of country. Now we have lost discipline and obedience. Right? We also taught honesty and morality. Honesty and morality. This may be lawful, but is it morally right? I want to hear Moro say, this is yes. And it's indeed yes. You shall know Moro is not a gendarme journalist.
Right.
Honesty and morality we were taught. Another thing that we were taught that is leaving me as I grow older is punctuality. Punctuality. Nkrumah got us to know that if you go and stand near the Meridian Hotel, there's something called Greenwich Mean Time, the Greenwich Meridian. It is not called Ghana Mean Time. And they told us those days that if the time is taken from your center, from here is 0, and it's minus going, and then minus a plus going. So we are in the center of the world, and therefore we should be punctual. By this illustration, no meeting will start at 10 o'clock and people are coming at 11:30. That's what we were taught. Another thing, today, give me time to go through.
The values.
The values, they are so dear to me. They have helped me.
That's fine. So these are your preliminary thoughts before we get into the conversation proper.
Then we were taught protection of state property.
Right.
As a young pioneer, I was taught the protection of public property. I was taught as a sixth value reliability and secrecy. He was saying that a memo is moving from president's office to vice president. Before the memo reaches it, it's on WhatsApp. No young pioneer trained Ghanaian would have done that. No young pioneer trained would have done that. And you know, to kill this value, the NPP's surrogates, forefathers, said the young pioneer was an indoctrination for communism. Because they wanted to kill these values that made us Ghanaians. Or if you tell me something today, and my nephew needs not know me, Sampi Ali, I will not let him know. Because I was taught that value at a very tender age. The other thing that we were taught is comradeship and forbearance. It's my comrade, right? You're my comrade. That's why we still call ourselves comrades. Now, if you are my comrade, I will not undermine you. You have to forbear. If you will be killed because of your friend, that is fine, because you believe in it. Then we have love for work. Do you remember your father singing Work and Happiness? Grandpa was singing Work and Happiness. When you go to Esuchare and the workers were cutting the sugarcane, and there will be an information service band standing there, blaring this sound. You see them, they will cut like, mower. That is what made Ghana. Their field crafts is another value that if you are a teacher, be an expert in your field, the craft of teaching, be an expert. No matter business. Nobody in those days was going to say, oh, Boko University one for me, try teachers training. No. Because we knew the value of teaching. We know the value of nursing. Today, people go to nursing training college for what reasons? All of us know. Then the last, unaffectedness. Nothing which affects the country should affect you negatively. If this is for Ghana, it should affect me properly. Are you listening to me?
Following.
Then selflessness. As a young boy and a young pioneer, at that little age, I was taught how to be selfless in the service of Ghana. And finally, striving to faultlessness. Whatever you do. These were the values we learned. These are the values we learned. And like the toothache plague, these people came and removed all this. So if today, 68 years of our country, we are still talking about, what we used to be, then the song that I learned, that Nkrumah never dies, is still alive. Moro, in our days, do you know what we celebrated, how we celebrated Independence Day? On the Independence Day, we exhibited what products we have been able to produce. Because Kwame Nkrumah said the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. So would one exhibit Akasanoma, Sanyo, you see they are in Tama still. It's a shame that the MP
All
for
those
Tema.
companies have collapsed.
It's a shame that MP for Tema have to lose a seat because of roads. What, Moro? If you were brought from West Region to come and see the Tama Harbor, and you saw the Tama roads and township, what? That time, most African, international, world-class countries is what we were competing with. And that's why we could construct the motorway, right? Motorway, how many years? What road in Ghana has lasted more than the motorway? That's how we, Kwame Nkrumah, put it. So we're exhibiting those things in the March past to show to the world that, yes, you left us, but we can manufacture our own fridges. We could manufacture our own cars. Remember, you were a small boy then, but Takura, the African Motors Road, we were manufacturing our own vehicles. Wafo and the rest of them. So we exhibit those things, and it was a joy to see Ghanaians, sitting in trucks, carrying those televisions, and to show to the world that we have also arrived. If you go to China, Russia, Germany, America, on their national days, that's what they exhibit their most sophisticated equipment. After the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah, when Ghana was halted and we were reversing, what have you exhibited? What have you exhibited? Miniature Ghanaian flags holding children. Holding children. Of course, we cannot exhibit eku juice. We can't. Because when you go to the shelves, you can see many things. Muro, I wish we had time to tell Ghanaians that if you twist history, history will twist and come back to set itself.
The good news I have for you is that we have time.
Yes.
We have the next 1 hour, 20 minutes to talk about Ghana. And the good thing is that you have actually set the tone. And it tells me that we're really going to have a very, very good discussion, a good conversation on this matter.
Just wait for this.
Let me just tell our viewers that the show is also live on 94.1. Just tune to 94.1 FM and listen to us on radio in case you're not able to watch us on TV. So our conversation primarily today is going to be about our 68th independence anniversary. We're reflecting and looking back in history, how Ghana gained independence from our colonial masters and what we've done with the country since 1957. And as you heard, Ambassador Sampiali already telling us about some of the values that were inculcated into us at the time and how sadly we have lost those values. But the question is, how do we then bring back this value system? Now, whilst you're talking, Ambassador Sampiali, I was just thinking that, typically we have attributed one of the problems, one of the reasons why we haven't been able to develop at the pace at which we've developed. One of the reasons is about our culture or some aspect of our culture.
No.
Okay, no, some people. There have been some people who have said that.
That's a wrong
So then it begs the question that what was the culture then? What was the Ghanaian culture then? Okay, during Nkrumah's time, which we don't have now. For which reason we're struggling?
Japan, on what did they develop?
On their culture.
On their culture.
Yes.
The Germans.
Same with Chinese.
The Germans, the Chinese. On what did they develop?
Their culture.
No, my culture, as an hunter, right? We had our self groups.
Yes.
Who defended our villages? Who kept our villages neat? What was wrong culture about that?
It's good.
That's interesting. Let me read the story, and then it would properly put
how the young pioneers look
like.
Yes,
we'll do that.
So that Annie will show it.
Yes, have you sent it to Annie?
No, I have not.
Okay, so I'll send it to her.
I don't know why we blame our culture.
Yes.
If you are chopping money, say culture.
Yes. And you know how we're quick to say that. Oh, why wouldn't there be corruption in Ghana when we have something like Aseda? You're going to see the chief. You have to take a snap. It's some have actually attributed it to. In
our days,
corruption. Tendencies of exhibiting corruption. But let's do
go
this.
ahead.
Let's do this quickly in order to put all of this in this proper context. So, 68th Independence Day celebration takes place at Jubilee House. Ghana's 68th Independence Day celebration will be held at the seat of the government, Jubilee House, instead of the traditional grand-scale event at Black Star Square or various regional capitals. The Minister of State for Government Communication, Felix Kwachofosu, announced the decision, explaining that the move is to reduce the financial burden on the national purse. So you can watch the live feed from the Jubilee House. The parade is what I'm talking about. It will start shortly, but we are, as you can see on the screens, we're warming up to the main event itself. Oh, the place is being open to the public view. That's wonderful. That's great. So Ghanaians, can have a feel of how, for the first time, those who've not had opportunity to go to Jubilee House, a feel of what Jubilee House looks like in terms of the inside and so on. So the Minister of State for Government Communication, Felix Kwacha, announced a decision explaining that the move is to reduce the financial burden on the national purse. According to him, the celebrations in recent years have incurred significant costs, which the government cannot currently afford. President Obama took the decision a few weeks ago to scale down the celebration and bring it to the presidency. There is a vast compound that has the capacity to accommodate hundreds of Ghanaians. He stated, unlike previous years, where around 3,600 security personnel and school children participated this year's event. Now, this year's event will involve just about 500 people. In the past, there were 60 contingents made of 60 men and women each. So you are talking close to 3,600 men and women and thousands of children who march. Now, everything has been scaled down to a little over 500 people. This is both the security men and women and the school children who will be performing. This is to ensure that we do not incur the sort of cost that we incurred in the past. The decision is expected to significantly cut costs, with the celebration set to cost only a tenth of the 15 million cedis spent on last year's event in Koforidia in the Eastern region. What will be held today will cost a tenth of that. The scaled-down event does not in any way undermine the significance of the event. The Independence Day celebration is one that President Mahama takes very seriously. While the event remains open only to invited guests, the public can follow proceedings live at television, radio, and social media platforms of the presidency and government agency. So this is to give our viewers an idea of how today's celebration is going to look like, and it's all in the spirit of cutting down costs. But yeah, so we're back to our main conversation for today, and we're starting from what used to be the case and what it is now. And you talked about, Ambassador Sampiali was talking about, he was responding to the question I asked about culture and how sometimes an aspect of our culture is anti-development and anti-progressive. And I don't know what you think about this. Ambassador, I'll come back to you.
Well, I want to take it from a different perspective.
Okay.
Altogether. We need to understand what Ghana is. What is this entity called Ghana? How did it come about? Who put it together? The space we call Ghana today was made up of 4 colonies.
Yeah.
The Gold Coast, Ashanti, Northern Territories, Transvolta, Togoland. Prior to that, it was under the British administration. Let me put it that way. Even prior to it being under British administration, it was a group of business people in Europe who decided that, look, we want to go and exploit this part of the world, came over and took over the place. You know very well about the Scramble of Africa in 1885. Some people went to sit at a dining table in Germany, took the map of Africa, and shared it for themselves, without recourse to the peoples of Africa. Not necessarily the peoples of Africa, I'm talking about the nations of Africa. Say nations is the people with a common sense of belonging, a common sense of history, a common sense of religion. So if you take, for example, the Akans in West Africa, they are a nation on their own. If you take the Gadangme, they are a nation. You take the Ewe in West Africa, and the Ewe in West Africa stretches from what today we call Ghana, all the way to Nigeria, parts of Western Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, and let's take the Ewe, for example. They have been divided into 4 separate entities of Ghana, Togo, Benin, and Nigeria. All these states that we find ourselves in are artificial states that were imposed on already existing states. And out of that, we created this thing we call Ghana today. Independence. What did we get? Self-management at best. Because all the Europeans did was that, okay, instead of having a white-faced colonial master, they trained a few African people in their own schools, whether it was Achimota, Infante Pema, Disadel, all these schools, to develop a certain cadre of white men in black skins to rule for and on their behalf in their absence.
Yeah.
That is what we are in today. What we call Ghana today, that is what it is. Whether it was Nkrumah, it was J.B. Dankwa, Busia, all of them were all part of that system, and there's that system that developed them. Or they all came from the same school. They all went to Achimota. They were all military officers, all of them, Rollins. All of them are products of the colonial enterprise. It didn't just happen in Ghana. It happened in Ghana, it happened in Kenya, it happened in Tanzania, it happened in Australia, Canada. So we have to understand the nature of the state's creation and the effect of the state interacting with already existing indigenous states. So prior to independence, there was always a rift because let me use the word, the chiefs or the traditional political rulers were of the view that, hey, if the white man has come and is leaving, why doesn't he give us back our power?
Yes.
Rather, he's giving the power to his children that he has trained, whether they were fighting for it, whatever it was. So you have to understand that dichotomy and the reason why African states are struggling to become what you classically will call nation states. We are not nation states. We are states for administrative purposes. Yes, we got independence to a very large extent. But really and truly, Ghana is a creation of an act of parliament in Britain. There's an act of parliament, I think it's called the Ghana Independence Act, 1957. It was a creation of that. Go and read the Hansard and see how it came about. So we have superimposed these modern so-called institutions or states on our traditional states and its values and its culture. That is why you and I speak in English. Even though we are Africans, we have our own languages, we have languages that we should be proud of. We can only communicate in the language of our master or of our colonial government or the colonial enterprise. Why? Because when we got independence, we did not recraft the state to reflect who we are. We left it at what others have made us to be.
Valid point.
So, who are we? Are we surrogates of the European creation, or we are what we had always been, as maybe Gadangme or Enzima or Akan? I mean, let me use Akan, the Gadangme or Akan or Ewe.
So the model made us to lose our originality.
So the model over time is making us lose who we are. So I give you an example. That is why if you come to Africa today, all our languages are under pressure. All our Guan languages are disappearing. All our coastal languages are disappearing. In Greater Accra. So the difference between us and the Asians, including India, I mean, my uncle was ambassador to India. When he was ambassador to India, I even lived with him. I lived with him for about 3-4 months.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I stayed with him at the High Commission for about 4 months. So India,
oh, he's mine.
I know.
India has the same
this
problem.
This is family matter. This is not politics.
India had the same problem.
He's only lost.
Malaysia.
No, he's just texted me that he's reflecting on the.
It will never happen.
On your.
As a great grandson of Park Grant.
Yes. He said he's reflecting on it.
Park Grant is our great grandfather. Ask him.
Yes.
And you were saying what?
Okay.
No worry. Let me finish what I was saying.
So you're using Asia, yes. You're citing Asia as an example.
They had the same problem.
Yes.
Where they had been banged up together, but what they did was that within their states, they realigned the states to reflect who they are. If you take Malaysia, for example, that's why Malaysia is a federation. It's a federation along their ethno-linguistic lines.
True.
It has not led to their collapse. It has rather helped them stay together because everybody is able to take care of themselves. Is also a beneficiary of his own resources and contributes to the center. If you go to Sarawak, the development in Sarawak is different from what you find in Kuala Lumpur. But they're all in Malaysia together. They move freely, they work together, but everybody, there's what you call devolution. And then there's also fiscal devolution, like Britain is doing today. There's a chamber for Scotland. Scotland has its assembly, Wales has its assembly, Northern Ireland has its assembly. Why? Because they want to keep their culture, to keep who they are. If you go to Wales, I keep telling people that when you enter Wales, the language is different. They speak Gaelic or something like that. It's a very completely different language. If you go to Germany, it's the same. Germany is a federation of the peoples of Germany. Some of them speak different languages, like Bavaria. They speak a completely different language from the rest of Germany. So we could have followed in the same model. But our African political elite at that time, the new political elite, said that, oh, let us keep the status quo. Let us manage its artisans. So basically all we have been doing, including us who are today in the modern political structures, are only perpetuating what the colonial administration put together. Whether it is the economy, whether it is the politics, whether it's the management of the state, whether it is statecraft, we are just continuing and perpetuating the same colonial structures. We have not gone down to the drawing board to make the necessary changes. And the Indian example I was given, India had this guy called Sardar Patel. He was the deputy prime minister of India.
Yeah.
He said that, no, the British have left us with chaos, but we can realign our states internally. So India, there were even parts of India that were Portuguese, Goa and co. They were Portuguese colonies. They took over and they said, no, all these people must be reintegrated back into India, and then they realigned the states. So when you go into India, the reason why they're able to live together peacefully is because the states are ethno-linguistically homogeneous, all the way to the district assembly. In Ghana, we've been lucky that our local assembly structure, the local government structure, is based on our traditional political boundaries. So it doesn't overlap. So if you take TMA, people think Tema Traditional Council, it includes Adenta, Ashaiman, Tema Metro, and Tema West. They all fall within the territorial boundaries of the Tema Traditional Council, and therefore they feel part and parcel of the decision-making process. They don't feel that they are losing out or their resources are on the other side and blah, blah, blah. That is how come we have had this very tranquil situation. 90% of the conflicts that are happening in Africa, whether it is today Goma and is the same matter. Liberia and Sierra Leone was a similar matter. Ethiopia is the same matter. All I'm just trying to drive at is that we have built these artificial states without recourse to our original states. And because of that, we are gradually losing our cultures through this new modern entity that we have created. Unlike the Americas, where like the USA, Canada, all the way to Argentina and beyond, the Europeans went there and eliminated the indigenous people, like they were doing in South Africa. They eliminated the indigenous people and created their own European institutions. So all their prime ministers and presidents are European. Some of them even are dual citizens of Argentina and maybe Spain, or Argentina, Chile and Germany. They are all European, even in they're like white South Africans. So you can't tell the difference. In our case, the people who are colonizing us today, what Kwame Nkrumah called neo-colonialism, or the disguised form of colonialism, are black people like us. Are black people like us. Some of them are plain stooges for Western powers. I don't need to mention this, but there's enough in Africa from, in the past, Zaire, Central African Republic, when we had this PLO Lumbaba speaking, and he gave examples of those places. All of them, our neighboring countries, Equatorial Guinea. Now the people want to be in power and even leave the power with their children. What's the guy's name? Paul Biya. 40-something years, as old as me, in power. And there's nothing to show, because in Africa, when the political elite gets power, it's for him and his family and his children and his maybe extended family to a large extent. So this conflict is what we have not been able to resolve over the years. Unlike the Asians, they've been able to resolve that. They resolved that quickly. But it wasn't that our forebears didn't know. The OAU meeting of 64, African Organization of African Unity meeting, of the predecessor to the current AU, it was an issue put on the table. In fact, it was Kwame Nkrumah who brought that issue on the table and said that, no, we have to reflect and look at how we integrate the states. Even though he was saying it out there, he was doing the opposite here. However, there was people like Nyerere who said, no, let's keep the states as they are, let's manage it as it is. And we have never been able to grow or develop. So you take an example of Ghana. Let's use Galamsey as an example. A mining company comes to Accra, gets to the minister's office, the government does a big ceremony of it, blah, 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 and says that go to district ABC, there's gold there, go and mine. Go to the district to go and mine, and you're mining on somebody's farm. But the state called Ghana has given you the opportunity to go there. What is the difference between that structure and what the colonial government was doing? There's absolutely no difference. There's absolutely no difference. So the chiefs over time have also learned that, oh, you know what, let us also oppose the state slowly. So sometimes you would see the states trying to, let's say, mine in a certain area. The chiefs oppose it. But the chiefs now allow their own indigenous people to go and mine in that area, and then they do what we call illegal mining. But sometimes this is the basis of the problem. We have not been able to integrate the two sets of institutions so that they work smoothly or work in harmony. They are literally running parallelly. We have our structures, The chieftaincy institutions also have their structures. They even have their own court systems. We have just not done that hard work of integrating the two. India, Sardar Patel eliminated them. In our case, within our traditional areas, when you are driving to Accra, you don't see even good morning in Ga. I've never seen that before. Or hello in the Ga language before. No. If you're lucky, you find somebody who has named the store with an Akan name.
Yeah.
But it's just English. Let me give you another example. Countries like Vietnam, they were purely French-speaking countries. Today, nobody in Vietnam speaks French. They have been able to reverse that colonial structure, and today everybody in Vietnam speaks their local dialect. And there are several dialects of the Vietnamese language. They also have very large differences like we also do. But they've been able to make everybody feel part and parcel of the state. China. People think that the Chinese are all speaking Mandarin. No. When you go to Fujian, they speak a different language. It's just next door to Hong Kong. And they speak a different language the rest of the people of China do not understand. But their states post in the modern China are all based on their ethno-linguistic boundaries. And therefore, everybody feels part and parcel of the state and contributes to the center. That is what Africa as a whole should be modeling over, or should be modeling around. Europe, you take a country like Slovenia and Slovakia. It's like Ghana and Dangwe. But they are two separate entities on their own. I mean, I can go on and on and on and give you examples of how the UAE, what is it? It's a federation along their ethno-linguistic lines. And even run by their traditional political elite, their chieftaincy institutions. They don't even have any democracy. It's from father to son, as their traditional systems are. And look at the growth and development.
So it's a monarch.
Yeah, this is a monarchy.
Yeah,
but we also have some monarchs amongst us
yes.
in our systems. But what I'm just trying to drive at is that foundation must be laid properly or put together well. And it is on that basis that we can save and secure our culture, save and secure our future, save and secure who we are. And then once people feel part and parcel of the state and feel that they are prime beneficiaries of the resources under their feet, trust me, the energy to work and work for Ghana will be there. The love to serve the country will be there, because you bring out what you call the we feeling, that common sense of belonging or common sense of benefits. Today, people feel that, oh no, I may not benefit, and therefore let me get the best out of it and disappear. Whether it's in politics, whether it's in academia, wherever it is, people are just fleecing Ghana in the name of maybe politics. However, when people feel part and parcel of the state, this we feeling will be there. All the things the virtues that my uncle was speaking about, I mean, these are virtues that we learn in civics. We can develop them. We can develop them through a 1-year national service, a 1-year military service. You can always, young pioneers and Boy Scouts are no different. Young pioneers and Boys Brigade are no different. The values that you developed in the young pioneers are values that you can even develop at home or in church or through your mosque. However, when you are crafting a state, all these fundamental issues must be addressed so that people will feel part and parcel of the state. We will not feel that we are creating an European extension on the continent of Africa in the name of a country called Ghana or Zimbabwe or what. It's not in the name. It is in the structure of the state. That is where that difference will be made. And once that is settled, the energies of the people would grow. When you go to India today, nobody is fighting over territorial boundaries. Unlike we, fighting when you go to Goma and go, I'm using Goma as a recent example. We are fighting over just territorial boundaries. The Tutsis on one side say that we want to be, we are not being taken care of, or we are not being recognized as part of the so-called Congo. What is this thing called Congo, for example? It was created by some Belgian king. Sat somewhere, took the map of Africa, chose it for himself and says, it is mine. And then we as political elites are still trying to let it stay as it is. It's not going to happen. And it's not going to work. And people would always use that as an opportunity to pitch A against B and A against B until we go to the drawing board as a people and take these things into cognizance and go back to the drawing board and, I mean, build, as I know my uncle is watching, build a state that is capable of turning our aspirations into reality, we will not be going anywhere.
I see. And clearly from what you've just said, I get the sense that the structure that existed, the traditional structure that existed, and the superstructure which was imposed on this structure by our colonial masters, increasingly, the basic structure is weakening and giving way to the superstructure. Is that the point you're trying to make?
Today, you will find the modern states everywhere.
Yes.
So we have district assemblies, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But in reality, if you look at our local governance structure,
yes,
we have solved that problem in the local government structure.
Yes.
By allowing the districts to fall within the traditional territorial boundaries. That is what we have. What now people are pushing for is for us to elect our political leaders at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Once that is done, and we add a little bit of devolution, I mean fiscal devolution, they will control the base. The traditional political authorities will control the whole base. That is why when we are going on a campaign and you go to a village,
so that's,
you can't just go and enter a town and campaign. Ask him. You have to go to the chief. The chief is the one that gives you the permission to go and talk to his people. You cannot just enter a town and go and speak. Nobody will come. Nobody. There are places where you go, nobody will assemble. For your political party will tell you, let's go to the chief's palace. So we always go to the chief's palace, take permission. Then we go to the people and go and talk to them.
I get it. But the reason why I'm saying that the superstructure appears to be corroding the basic structure is because even some of these chiefs that we're talking about have all become some of them have become very partisan. They've been compromised.
See, partisanship is a different thing altogether.
No, through this.
Because they also want access to power.
Yes.
The power now sits with the superstructure.
Executive.
The superstructure.
Yes.
But they also want access to power. And they always outlast the government.
True.
They always allow it. So maybe it's a card that they play. But I mean, when you listen to them.
But did that, you see, the question I'm asking is, did that used to be the case?
It has always been the case from even the colonial times. Because why? The Europeans came and they were interacting with our chiefs.
Okay.
They started with our chiefs before they created the institutions that we are now in as politicians.
So the corrupting of our traditional authorities does not start from today?
No, it wasn't. For them, it was not corruption.
From where we sit.
Yes,
they would see it as normal.
No, so for them, they were trading with the white man.
Yes.
They were bargaining with the white man for and on behalf of their people or for themselves, whichever way.
Yeah.
But they had the legitimate authority of their people to do so. Because they were their chiefs.
Yes.
I always give you this example of Aborigines Right Protection Society. It was headed by chiefs and a few business people.
Yes.
But they had the presence of mind, knew that no, what this white man is bringing was a disguised form of taking our land.
Their lands, yes.
That same agreement is what they took to New Zealand. That thing they call the Waitangi Agreement. It was in the same period.
Right.
Well, 1840, 1844. Maybe the ship that came here sailed all the way to New Zealand and in 4 years got there.
Yeah.
And when they but they signed it. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
I get it.
And it has become a problem for them till date. Our forebears at that time knew that no, this transaction may not necessarily be in our interest, and therefore we should object to it. And they objected to it. Was it not the same chiefs? So our chiefs had the capacity. They don't just become chiefs. They are trained. They train in what we call in our palaces, what we today call stagecraft. They are taught. If you use our current Asante Hene, I saw a video of him explaining how he was trained and brought up and blah, blah, blah. It was a traditional form of training. It was a traditional form of training. He went to live with his uncle, went to live with this uncle, went to live with this chief. He was swapped from this school to that school, and eventually he became king. Sometimes he claims that he didn't even know that he was going to be a king because he was kept away from it. It was all part of the structure.
That's fine. But you see, you said something which was important, and
colonial structure.
So then how do you have a situation where a chief will supervise and superintend over Galamsey? And not care?
Because he feels that he's not a direct beneficiary of the resources under his feet. So whenever there's a Galamsey...
That's interesting.
Whenever there's a Galamsey issue...
Okay.
Do you think that the youth in a town just go out there to destroy the land? They must have political backing. I mean, take a place like Obuasi and ask yourself that whether Obuasi has been the prime beneficiary of all the gold that has come out of Obuasi. No. There's no. In fact, when you go to Obuasi, it's pathetic. So if you were a chief of Obuasi or BBN, recently I saw one of the chiefs from there, on TV, lamenting. He says, we don't benefit from this gold. We see all these companies come and go, take our timber, take our gold, they come, they go. Our people are not benefiting. The youth, when you listen to the interviews that they have with your stations and co, it's the same thing that they say, we don't have the jobs, we don't get the jobs, we don't get the benefits, we don't see the wealth. It is not just with gold, it's with oil in Nigeria, the southern states. They are all saying the same thing. Why? The Ogoni people. That is what cost Ken Saro-Wiwa his life. So it is not something that is just even peculiar to Ghana.
Yeah.
It is the whole African structure and system. And our chiefs, in fact, they have held us together. Because if they had pitched themselves against each other, there will be chaos. Trust me, there will be chaos. So there's no way, I always say that there's no way that Galamsey would occur in a place and the chief of that area or the traditional authority of that area is not aware.
Yeah, but
it's
if
not
you
possible.
go, but you see, but if this argument you're making is to hold water, how then do you explain a situation where Asante Hene has started? In fact, he's been distooling chiefs who are seen to be superintending, either directly or indirectly.
He's exercising his traditional authority over them by distooling them. So he's doing what is right.
And you think that Asante Hene does not know what you know?
Oh, I'm sure he knows better than I do. But that's why he's distooling them. But ask your political elite whether they would sack a DCE for engaging Galamsey. We never sack them. What will happen will be a letter, a query, at best. Even your party people in that constituency will go up in arms that you are sacking the DC.
No, sorry. Let me come back to you on this.
If a chief, let me finish. If a chief has done what is wrong, and his senior chief has sacked him, that is the right thing to do, and he has done it. It means that he's acknowledging that some of his subordinates are involved. No problem. I'm saying bring that into the political elite, the modern structures that you have created. Have you ever heard the DC being sacked for Galamsey?
Not yet.
So it should tell you that even the traditional elite, political structures, rather work in the interest of the people better than our modern political structures.
So why wouldn't, for instance, Otunfo say, well, I understand why you would look on sheepishly whilst Galamsey is being done in your backyard, because I understand you are not a direct beneficiary or you're not benefiting from the resource, in your backyard. And so if your boys are, engaged in this criminal act, I can understand. You sit there and continue. Why wouldn't Asante Hene say, I understand you, so, let it be?
So
but would rather destool him.
Against your point, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure from different quarters, not just locally. So something must be done. But I'm saying assuming without admitting that he didn't know, and he has gotten to know, and he has taken action. Which political authority, party, MPP or NDC, has taken any action?
Has punished some local head?
It doesn't happen.
For superintending the same thing.
He's not doing anything different from what Gettysburg was doing.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, very interesting theory to explain why our development has stagnated. I don't know whether you agree or disagree.
The largest extent, I agree with him.
Okay.
I agree with him in the nationalistic part of it, but not his neo-colonialist ideas.
Why?
You see, Ghana is a confused state now.
We're a confused state. That's serious.
We're confused structurally, ideologically, and in terms of what we are looking for. And I'll take time to explain.
Please do.
When the white man came here, he had his objective. So, for example, he came to my great-grandfather at Axim. My great-grandfather came from Boire and gave him a mirror. Look at me, how beautifully I'm dressed. And look at you, your skin is, that's open and that. And that if you give me a piece of land, I will give you some clothes to wear. That's how gradually, in that infant stages, we got ourselves linked with the white men. At the point in time, we even had to go sign a bond with them, which lasted for over 100 years. It's been 68 years since we gained our independence. You know, I have lived my life in the pension industry. And if Ghana was a male or a human being, it should have been on pension for the past 8 years.
It's gone past retirement.
Gone past retirement, so it should have been matured by now. We are confused structurally because we still haven't come to grips that Ghana is a unitary country. We still haven't come to grips with that. And that in spite of the pension for people in those days saying that we wanted to go federal, albeit on a very parochial sense, because we have the gold and everything, so we want to be on our own. That's the beginning of the Matimuhu movement. We have Matimuhu. Do you know what it means?
Yeah.
I've moved myself from the enterprise, Ghanaian enterprise. Kwame Nkrumah wanted to bring all of us together. You know, Moro, I'm forever grateful to Kwame Nkrumah that we should have another Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana.
Sorry, I'll have to rudely interrupt. As you can see on your screens, the president and his wife, Mrs. Lordina Mahama, have arrived. He's shaking hands with... oh, okay. Today apparently is her birthday. That's Lordina Mahama. Happy birthday. I'll have to check. I'll have to check the age. But today is her birthday, and so for her, it's a double. How do you call it? It's double celebration for her. It's a birthday and also the birthday of Ghana.
Called that independent girl.
Yeah, that's interesting. And she, of course, shaking hands with the former president. That's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I haven't seen the former vice president there. I haven't seen him yet, but I hope he's there. And that's the vice president also flanked. He's flanked by the vice president on his right, as typically you'd see. And I believe that the national anthem is also being played. So shall we? I don't know. Annie, should we go and take the national anthem or should we continue with our conversation? Okay, we're going to take the national anthem.
Problem with it. Am I on there?
The National Pledge.
The National Pledge. Up. I
promise on my honor to be
faithful and loyal.
Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, we shall now commence today's program with opening prayers. We shall have the traditional Muslim and Christian prayers.
Well, so as you can see, the parade or the celebration has started. We'll go back to the Jubilee House, the forecourt of the Jubilee House, where the celebration is taking place. But for now, we have a very important conversation to have. So we're going to continue with it. And as and when I get instructions from Annie and the production team, we'll go straight to Jubilee and catch the action. Yes, sir.
In a dilemma, confused state.
Okay.
Structurally, we are still struggling about whether we took a right step in having a unitary state or have allowed ourselves in our compartments. But in those days, you know, some of the states were stronger than others.
Yes.
And they were being defeated and being annexed, even by internal colonialists.
True.
Take the people of the northern region, how would they have become who they are today? That today we have northern presidents. You see, when Osagyefo, you know this dress I'm wearing?
Yes.
You know the name?
What was the name?
Nkrumah pencil.
Nkrumah what?
Pencil.
Nkrumah pencil?
Yes.
What's the story behind that?
I will tell you the story behind it. Let me finish my analysis.
Okay.
Simply put, Nkrumah gained independence through...
Oh, the brain. Right.
But they didn't go to war to win it.
Okay. Okay.
Brains and strategies.
Brain work.
You see, today, 68 years after independence, having enjoyed from the advantages of being a unitary state and having foolishly, with emphasis, truncated our forward march, no country in the world has been without crisis. No country has been in the world. In the Americans, the War of Independence, Russians, in our case, in modern times, crisis, we call it COVID-Ukraine war. No country has not been without a crisis. But you don't truncate a process because there's a challenge. You understand what I'm saying? Now today, people would have loved to be in the federal state. Even today, some chiefdoms are raising themselves to become empires and kingdoms. You know? And there are some states, if the president presents himself, the president would bend to greet the chief. In some areas, the president will instruct the chief to stand up to greet him. So we cannot use the institution of chieftaincy, you know, to equate our aspirations. Okay? Today, he and I know that even in our homeland, people are buying stools which they are nowhere near for more reason, better other reasons than serving their people. So that, like I'm saying, we cannot use the chieftaincy paradigm to define our crisis. We cannot also use the unitary state as our problem, because there are other countries that have flourished. Look at the Germany. Yeah. You had the West Germany, the East Germany. Eventually, they decided that, look, to go forward, you have to come together.
But Germany is a federation.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's still a federation.
I'm coming there.
But it's a point he's building, yeah.
You see, federation in itself does not solve the problem we have. Because in our case, some started before others. Anytime I saw the Yagbonwura, I said, yes, we are arriving. Anytime I saw the Awomofia, we have arrived. But what about my Western chiefs? What of them? What about my Central Region chiefs? You see, so even in the chieftaincy institution, we are not giving them the same equality and equation. So if we want to fashion our national structure on chieftaincy, we're going to have still the problems we are facing.
Not chieftaincy.
Now, if you want to also use linguistics as a domain for development, there's a lot of good for that, because the Japanese, the Chinese use their local languages. Look, you go to a school and they are introducing a child
to Mandarin,
to a child at Alabankata, right? Or he has been taught from his childhood as a hunter. And all of a sudden he says, if B squared is equal to A squared is equal to that. Right from the word go, he said, who is B? Because he knows B to be his sister in the house. He's confused. But other nations have come to understand that if this was taught in his native language, he would have understood the concepts better. So why for 68 years we have not come to understand this? More than 68 years ago, somebody with a head on his neck, with a brain in it, decided that I am establishing the Jumaku School of Languages. so that some key languages can be taught there for our national development. Go to Jumako now. They are now doing religion, economics, and marketing. That's why I'm saying that we are confused, aren't we?
No, they probably have evolved.
Evolved?
Yes.
If you evolve, you evolve positively, don't evolve negatively.
Okay.
We have evolved into a quasi-European
entity. Because School of Languages, we're expecting that on Metro TV, some of your programs will be done in Nzima. Today, as I'm speaking here, my grandmother in my does not even understand what I'm saying.
That's true.
You see, that is why for a long time GBC was that prominent, because they would do the Akan and the other languages.
Nzima was on Friday.
On Friday.
So even with that,
you speak Nzima?
Yeah, but
yeah.
Okay. Even with that, it also squeezed some of the smaller languages. Let's say Ahanta.
Yes.
So, for example, when Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown and the Nzimas were being chased, everybody stopped speaking Ahanta. So everybody in Takoradi speaks Fanti today.
Oh.
Because Ahanta was not taught in school.
Right.
They were rather taught Fanti. I went to a school in Accra, but I was not taught Gan. I did Asante Tree and the Kuapim.
The Gans are complaining bitterly.
Yes.
So it is
that their language is under stress.
It is buttressing my point that
they can't even find Gan teachers to go and teach.
It is buttressing my point that
yes,
our confusion, one of them is the fact that we think that linguistic, development can help us develop. Yes, it would. But how? You see, it's not a question of just say this is a white shirt. How did you see it as the white shirt? Because it could have been a cream shirt or meat white.
Okay. So you see, if I may help.
Don't know buttresses.
That's why, but I want to go back to the linguistic side.
Yes.
The reason why I've always been a federalist. I have to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because the unitary nature of the unitary nature of the state is what is creating the problem. Oh. And I say so because, yes, federations are not necessarily built based on size or the capacity of your ability to grow in terms of money. No, it is purely based on your ethno-linguistic space.
Okay, let me finish my point before you come.
I want to give an example. Let's use the example of
Nigeria.
The Nigerian federations were not necessarily built on ethno-linguistic space until 1999. They were created into regions.
Yes.
They had 4 regions, then 6 regions, then later 8 regions.
Yes.
And then later states.
Yes.
And when you see that, now you see that conflicts that we used to have in a place like Bayelsa, and the river Delta states and all those places has subsided. And French, we can have English and Ga in Greater Accra, so that all our signboards and our posters and all those things will have those 2 languages. When you go to the Akan regions, you have English and Akan. If you go to Canada, every signboard is in English and French because those are the 2 languages that are spoken. So as you progress through the districts and all that, you would have the languages even being displayed, for want of a better word. But that's one of the ways that you can also let the languages develop. Otherwise, over time, we will be in Accra, and you will not have any Ga speakers in Accra. Trust me, a place like Tema Central, it is dominated by Akan. There are no Ga speakers in Tema Central.
Interesting.
There are very few.
Interesting.
No schools in Tema Central does Ga anymore.
So, but you see, that is where my fear is. Buttressing the point that going the linguistic way solely may also create over-dominance of particular language over others. What I was advocating for was that, look, you don't teach Ekwapimchi in Axim. Because the Ekwapimchi itself is an alien language in the first place.
Okay.
That added to English creates double confusion in the mind of an Axim boy.
Okay.
Right? But that was the purpose of Kwame Nkrumah, saying that teach major languages.
Okay.
Broadcast in major languages, not one particular language. What Kwame Nkrumah wanted to avoid was the empire kind of statehood in a unitary state. You know, when Kwame Nkrumah was declaring the independence, you know what he wore? What did he wear? Suit?
No.
Why? What did he wear?
He was in Fugu.
You know why?
Why?
For a long time, without any prejudice or disrespect, we of the South, you know, guided by the British, have used our brothers from the North
yes.
as laborers.
Yes.
Osajifu said, no, they cannot be a second-class Ghanaian. So on the day of independence, Osajifu decided to wear the fugu, which became our national dress.
Right.
Kwame Nkrumah was developing this country with consciousness.
Right.
The problem we are having,
yes.
the second confusion is whether we are still going to hold on to the vestiges of colonialism or we wanted to be pan-Africanist. Or Ghanaians. That's another confusion.
Okay. Let's go back to the Jubilee House. The president.
You're interrupting me anytime I'm speaking.
I'm sorry. I get
MPP boys.
I get instructions from the top, you know, so I'm following instructions. So let's go back to Jubilee. The president is just done with inspection of the Guard of Honor, and so I'm sure he's taking back his tea. So let's catch the action briefly, and then we'll come back and continue with our discussion. So you're watching Good Morning Ghana. Let's go back to the Jubilee. The forecourt. All right, you're watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. We'll go back to Jubilee shortly. We just had a little technical glitch, and so we'll sort it out, and we'll go back to the Jubilee, forecourt of Jubilee House, where the Independence Anniversary Parade is taking place. The president just finished inspecting the Guard of Honor. He'll be taking his seat, and the rest will follow. With me this morning is Ambassador Sampiale, who's the president of the NDC Professional Forum, and also Yves Hansen-Norte is former MP for Tema Central. And so I'm just waiting to get instructions from a technical crew, of course, and the lead of the production lead, Annie Ampofu, and then we'll go back to the forecourt of the Jubilee House, where this is actually not the first time per se, strictly speaking, because in 2020, because of COVID, we had to do something at Jubilee. But of course, it's not in the same shape and form as we're seeing it. But this is the Independence Parade being done at the fullest, except that the numbers have been pruned down drastically, as the Minister of State in charge of government communication tells us. It's just to sort of reflect the times, the tone of Ghanaians, which is that we are in difficult times, and so we must be cutting costs. Ambassador Sampiale disagrees with that, but I would wait for him to land on the submission he was making, and he will tell me what disagreements he has with how we're celebrating the Independence Parade this time around. Please go ahead.
Okay. When we went to the Consultative Assembly, I was a member of the Consultative Assembly.
Yes, you mentioned it some time back.
This big confusion also came. Are we following the British system? Prime Minister system or the American system?
Or we're going to have a hybrid?
A hybrid. And the hybrid is what I've created the confusion for us now.
Westminster and the British system.
That's true.
This is what I created the confusion.
Is the problem.
What should have been the ideal system?
Ideal system should have been grounded on our traditions and customs.
Who was supposed to have done that?
Wait a minute. You see, when we went to the Consultative Assembly, I was a very young boy then. The same powers of colonial powers were sitting on the galleries.
Doing what?
Dropping notes.
Making sure that you fall within the confines. That's why when we went off, I was telling you that we are not independent.
Today,
so they influenced it.
Today, let the Minister of Agric of Ghana or let the AU meet. The first 2 seats are occupied by white men. And Moro, does this not sound something to you in your mind that Kwame Nkrumah wanted to create an African personality? Does it not answer the question what Kwame Nkrumah was saying, that the black man was capable of doing governing his own self? These people said no.
That's not it.
Kwame Nkrumah.
That's absolutely not it.
What is not it?
You see, when I started my conversation, I told you that this state that we call Ghana is purely for administrative purposes.
No, we have moved from that. I'm saying that the forward march of Ghana, who should have been anchored and our African personalities
was truncated by.
No, so, let me give you another example. I use the UAE as an example. How did they do it? They anchored it on their traditional institutions.
Yes.
So
you said that.
I am telling you exactly what I'm saying. But
is it too late to go for that?
Again, we deviated in sticking to the British rule or comparing ourselves to a standard we cannot achieve, the American system. In any case, today, the American federal system is also under threat. You know what is Colombia and Mexico doing?
Yes.
I think going forward, enough of the lamentations. Going forward, we should first look at ourselves first as Ghanaians. What is good for us and what is not good for us. We are suffering again because of over-politicization of everything and anything in Ghana. Over-politicization. Instead of people, I read a memo who says that if it comes to a political party in Ghana, choose the political party.
Yes. Party over country.
Party over country. So then you're going to have the political party thinking that it's superior to the country, and therefore everything must be captured by the political party and its allies. You see what is going on?
But these same people talk about country first, country first.
But they talk about it. But when they come to writing about it, what do you have on record? Today, if you go to the National Archives, you see the political party saying that if you come to the party, between party and government, choose Ghana, choose party. It's in the National Archives.
Let's look at the way forward.
I've not finished my submission. Today,
Uncle is not done yet. Ambassador is not done yet. Yes. Please go ahead.
Moro, going forward, I want what we have left behind. Look at even our education system.
Yes.
We say we were reforming. One of the sectors we have reformed more than any sector is education. Today you see them with the fighter jets America had. In Mumbai, they built 3 big houses.
India is not a technology hub.
Yes, and
big time.
They did it purposefully, not by meetings and all those things.
They were intentional about it.
Intentional about it. They built these big houses in Mumbai. They are still there. And you know what they did with it? They gave it to the tech giants, free for 10 years. They are there. So, for instance, what's the big Sony? Huh?
Yes.
He said that I want to go to India because for 10 years I won't pay rent. But you are to employ
X number of people.
You are to train
X number of people.
Today, if you go to Mumbai, is a city of techs.
That's true.
We will get there.
Today, if you go to people's houses, we have tractors and the plow in somebody's bungalows in Accra. If you are going to Cape Coast, before you move from Fanziman Girls and you are going, you will see one at the corner there. So I asked, now, I heard you see the coin.
So can we go back to Jubilee and watch,
I say I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, our viewers are very much interested in what's happening at Jubilee. So let's go for them to catch a glimpse of it. And at the right time, we'll come back and continue with our conversation. You're still watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. So let's go and have a feel of it.
How many band display?
Or not yet? Well, that's beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful, beautiful. That's fantastic. Anyway, so we're reflecting, we're reviewing, and we're resetting. And we have about 10 more minutes to end the show. And so right after that, we'll be going back to Jubilee. And so that's why we're back very early, because we want to wrap up the conversation when we go back to Jubilee for the Independence Parade. You wanted to come in just before I had to interrupt you today.
So I was looking
in response to some of the things that Ambassador Sampi had said.
The way forward.
Well, way forward, yes.
The way forward. We've come a long way after 68 years. Obviously, Ghana has been able to turn some of our aspirations into reality. We may not have been able to do all. We also have to, in this time of reflection, ask ourselves the deep questions. Whether the structure of the state as it is today and what we have today is good for us going into the future. And for me, I believe that Ghana has come to stay. We might have to twitch and turn a few things internally so that it is able to reflect more of who we are than what others have made us to be. We have to understand that some people created this for themselves. And we have found ourselves as maybe accidents of history within this entity. However, we cannot be kidding ourselves over it. And we should be jaw-jawing and aligning so that the state can really turn aspirations into reality. Because in 68 years, the people we started with are far gone. They're far ahead of us. Some of them we started before they even...
Singapore, Malaysia, I can give a tall list.
I can give a tall list. Singapore, yes. Malaysia, India, Indonesia.
Yeah.
But there's something fundamental that my uncle refuses to accept, which I keep insisting on, is the structure of the state. And that all these states that you are giving examples of are federations. They are more multi-ethnic than we are. But they've been able to carve out federations to the basic level so that the people feel that they are in control of their resources, which is extremely important.
So you're a federalist?
I'm a federalist. I've always believed in that. And
you're a federalist.
There's enough technical papers written on this matter. So there's enough to show that countries that took that path have developed better than we have. It doesn't mean that, see, countries that are unitary, let me give you an example of Thailand. It is for the Thai people, almost 90% of their landmass are made up of one tribal grouping called the Thai people. If you take Bangladesh, they are Bengali people. It's just them. So when you create unitary states in those places, it works. Even the Indian example that we're giving, which my uncle is very familiar with, the Federation of India, the states are all internally homogeneous. West Bengal, it's Bengali people. So when you create such unitary states within those structures, it works. But in our case, where we are multi-ethnic, you cannot create a unitary state. Because we've realized that, and it is not just Ghana, when our political elite get power, it's for them and their tribe and their family. It is a fact. Since time immemorial, Kwame Nkrumah did the same. Half of his national security people were in Zimbabwe. Half of them, my uncles were in there, so I know. My grandfathers were there.
And NPP is already accusing
NDC did the same, NPP did the same, Rollins did the same. Yes. Why? So, for me, being what I am, a political scientist, I'm a federalist through and through, and I believe that that is what will secure the future of Africa and who we are. That's number one. So,
he's an unapologetic federalist.
We may not get a full federation as we want it to be, no. But in a subtle way, we have already done that at the base. Today, we are saying that we want to have elected DCs with some economic authority. It is a form of federation. It might not be clear-cut federation along ethno-linguistic lines, but once we do that, we have done it.
Why can't we do it regionally?
Fantastic. That would even have been better. So that if we did it regionally, but I know that it's a natural step from the district level to the top, because some districts are not economically viable.
Right.
Some districts in today's current Ghana are not economic. They only raise revenue on a market day, you know, of maybe 100,000 cities. So such districts may not be economically viable. So maybe regional governments would work. Like a largest example is maybe what India has, Switzerland. It's a form of regional governments, 9 regional governments.
Yeah.
And they speak different languages. Germany, it's 17 different governments with different languages. Spain, the Basque region, even Great Britain today has devolved to have the Welsh Assembly, the Scottish Assembly, and the Northern Ireland Assembly, and then the Westminster body.
But let me ask you this: if we can devolve,
yes,
regionally, but can we deconcentrate regionally?
So we are not going to deconcentrate.
Yes, because of capacity, and that's why I ask about deconcentrate.
You see, when you devolve, right, it will create internal competition. It will create internal competition.
Yes.
Means if we devolve, and for example, let's say I was from a place like the north today.
Yes.
People think that resource is only about maybe mining resource. No, it's human capital.
Yes.
There's enough human capital in Ghana, in any region, to develop. It is not just about resource. When you go to any federal country, Germany, let's use Europe as an example so that it's not too far.
You've lived in Germany before?
No, I've visited it a few times. When you go to Germany, I mean, not all states are developing at the same rate.
Well, that's true.
When you go to Malaysia, when you go to Sarawak and those places, there are forests. They are not all developing at the same rate.
Even in America.
Even in America, exactly. So you cannot have a situation where we will all develop at the same pace at the same time. You might even have all the resources. If you don't have good leadership, you will still not be able to develop. And people without resources will develop. Singapore had no resources, but they have developed.
So let me...
Almost ethno-linguistically homogeneous, so they use their local language.
Yes.
When you go to...
Beijing.
Yes, Shanghai. When you go to India, it's the same. So just as you have said, in multi-ethnic, multi-linguistic societies, federations serve them best. But federations are not necessarily based on size and land mass, and no, it's purely based on ethno-linguistic spaces, and that is
identify the groups and get them a leader.
That's it. They can get their own leader. They have their traditional leaders, or let me give you another. Let me use UAE as an example.
Please do quickly because we have to go.
Our people visit UAE a lot.
Yes.
If you take UAE, you have Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, but Dubai is 10 times the size of Ajman.
True.
The Ajman is like Tema, and Dubai is like twice greater entire region.
Right.
Yet they are all states,
and
they function together. So for me, I believe that is the way forward.
All right.
And if we carve that part, I'm sure
the next 20 maybe the Constitution Review Committee will have to take
totally disagree with him.
That's fine.
See, there are states like Brazil who are also federal states.
True.
But are not as developed as Singapore and the rest.
Because
see, one factor that develops a country is leadership. What we're talking about, the type of federalism that we sought to practice is the decentralization of local government we have in our system. Because if, for example, Ahanta West or Nzema Assembly had experts like him there, he would not have run away to Tama. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So instead of talking about federalism, which is a political...
Ghanaians don't like that word.
Divisive ideology.
Yes.
Matimu.
And
I understand now why you have moved from Kwame Nkrumah's party to NPP. You see, we can, you see, the bigger, the better.
Okay.
As a country, our ethnic structures are not such that some will be equal to others. So to solve that problem, create one unitary state.
Okay.
But let us polish our decentralization.
It boils back to the same thing.
No, decentralization is different from
devolution
federalism.
And devolution.
Now, decentralization says that, look, each district must have its own district assembly, which is a district government. I would have loved that resources will not be dissipated at the district assembly common fund.
Okay.
But the Constitution, we were very careful to say that 5% of the national cake should go to Ahanta West.
You should do 50-50.
Whatever the percentage, but even the 5%.
What you generate, you keep a percentage.
But even the 5%, it is not going.
Yeah.
You see, you sit here, people are bought
because we have a unity state. Everything goes to the top, and it doesn't get to the bottom.
That's exactly
I'm saying that it should stay at the bottom, and the portion should go up. That's the devolution I'm talking about.
But
we have always told ourselves that it goes to the top, and we share from it. It doesn't get to the bottom.
You are not protecting me.
The people at the top.
You are not
please allow him. Please allow him. Please allow Ambassador to land because we have to go to Jubilee.
Because he's my nephew,
yes, so
I've allowed him.
You spare him.
You see, the national revenue is not generated mainly at the district level.
Yes.
It's at the central government, the consolidated fund.
Okay.
So what we said was, give 5% to the district assemblies. We did not say that sign sanitation contracts, sign drip contracts, sign this at the top. So by the time the district chief executive is there, go to my Hunter West. The machines, the drip machines you send there, they are there, sitting there.
We need fiscal devolution.
So we need
alongside political devolution.
Okay.
Let us elect our DCs.
Yes.
And then
please
allow
allow him to
fiscal
land.
devolution.
You said it out. Please let him land. Yes.
See, if we take our decentralization seriously, okay, because we don't have the luxury of these highfalutin theories about federalism and the rest. But for decentralization, based on our culture, because you know that we even added 30% of the assemblies should be from the traditional councils and areas.
Yes.
That is where the solution is.
Okay.
Right? You don't graduate from Ahantaman Secondary School, TTU, and you want to come to Accra to come and work. But if the district chief executive, the assembly, is properly structured with men who knows what they are about.
That's why we want them elected.
You see, no, I mean, we have had elections in the parliament as what they go to do is, Mr. Speaker, we are fighting. Stop those things. Election is not the development.
Doesn't solve the problem.
Doesn't solve the problem.
Okay.
If even they are not elected,
yes,
and they go to the assembly
yes,
with a sense of nationalism,
yes,
with a sense of the fact that I'm here for a purpose,
okay,
and the resources are properly sent and properly managed, we must have a breakthrough.
Okay.
You know, it's enough. We should stop blaming the colonialists.
Okay.
And
take charge of our own affairs.
Take charge. Because I don't want to attend a meeting and I see a 36-year-old boy, white man, sitting there and giving me directions.
Right.
Me too, have gone to school. When you check, he has a master's. Me, I have double masters. So what is different?
What's he going to show you? Ambassador Safiali, thank you so very much for your time. It's always a pleasure having you here. We've been talking for almost 2 hours. Can you imagine? And it's been a very interesting conversation. But we have to go to Jubilee because of the Independence Parade. The Ghanaians want to see how the parade is going. I know you had views you couldn't even express because of time. And so, thank you very much once again. And then also, Yves Hansen-Norte is a former MP for Tema Central. Okay, MPP MP. But quickly, just 30 seconds. Do you think we should? What do you think about the Jubilee doing this thing at Jubilee, organizing the parade at Jubilee? You have a contrary opinion.
I think that the government had some strong reasons for doing it there.
Okay.
But a few questions have to be answered. Couldn't this have been done at our iconic Independence Square at the same cost to achieve the same? The basic question that has also had to be answered is that independence was not achieved for the government. Independence was achieved for the people. And in my days, I had the pride of ironing my dress and walking from Apawai, you know Apawai, to Sekendi Jendu Park to go and march independence. It must have a symbolic, spiritualism with me. So I agree with the government that we have to cut costs because of what we are going through. But you can spend 20 cedis at a choba. You can also spend 20 cedis as a restaurant, but the impact will be different. I would have loved. The people who troop to the Independence Square, nobody pays them. Do you pay them? No. Those who still understand. Nobody pays them. But they want to be part of the participation. I pray that by next year, right, our economy would have improved. That we don't turn this, right, into the nature of our independence celebration. I am watching and watching because there's one significant thing that happens at the Independence Square. That is the perpetual flame. Honoring the soldiers who laid their life, not J.B. Dankwa, who laid their lives. You see the soldiers standing on the where we laid the perpetual. I'm looking at where this will be made.
It's across the road.
No, that one they have destroyed it.
That's what 31st is.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's been destroyed.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe they have erected the perpetual frame at the Independence. Now this place, I'm watching.
Okay.
But I'm saying that I agree with the government decision, but a few questions would have to be answered. That next year, if the economy improves, let us go back to the Independence Square, where popular participation is also accommodated.
It's part of the celebration. It's a key component of the celebration. So yes, that's the lighting of the perpetual flame as you talked about. It doesn't look like we're going to do it. Maybe it's been arranged. Oh, they brought it to the place. Okay, I'm told they brought it to the place. So the president will be lighting it. So I don't. After inspecting the place. Okay, that's fine. So thank you very much for watching Good Morning Ghana. This is where we.
A round of applause for these learners. That was a masterclass performance with vocal precision and control.